This is breaking news from CBS 13.
Welcome into our streaming coverage along with KMAX 31 viewers of Governor Newsom speaking, addressing what's been happening down in Southern California. Here he is right now. Obviously, we're trying to establish the audio here. I apologize for that. But again, Governor's speaking, and as soon as we get that squared away, we'll kick that into high gear. Of course, there's been a lot of coverage regarding this, and something that not fully unexpected because there's so much back and forth.
And we have political analyst Gary Dietrich here in the studio with us to talk about, just what we can expect. Obviously, we have no idea what the governor is going to be discussing specifically tonight. But Gary, you can kind of speak to the broader moment here of at what point, are there audio issues or with the governor, I believe we're hearing. But Gary, talk about this. When's the last time?
Yeah, I'm trying to watch him on his own YouTube channel, and I can see it, but I can't hear him.
Okay.
Gary, when's the last time we saw something like this happen, where we have a governor responding in real time to protests that are happening and the response of a sitting president? Yeah,
this is escalating to a level that is nearly unprecedented, and the address tonight is apparently called. It's about democracy, okay? So I think what we're going to see is a direct challenge to the president, and that what he's doing, in Gavin Newsom's view, is undemocratic. He'll say it's unlawful. He'll say it's unconstitutional. I don't think there's going to be any holds barred here between these two. This has been escalating over the weekend. What was interesting to me, guys, it started with them saying, Newsom saying he called the president Friday and had a 40-minute conversation. Well, the president showed a call log that he called him at 1:30 in the morning for 16 minutes. This has started up at the beginning of the weekend, and it's only escalating, and the courts are now involved, as you know. Supposed to be a decision on Thursday about the emergency request that Newsom and Bonta put out today. But Trump today doubling down on there's already protests in other cities, and Trump said today, I'm not limiting my response to L.A. Any of the rest of you, Minneapolis, New York, wherever, get an idea that you're going to have free reign? Not going to happen.
Yeah. Again, we're spitballing right now because the governor's speaking, but they're having audio problems. So from my understanding, what we're being told in our ear, it's not us, it's the governor's office. And if you can't watch it on the YouTube channel, then
and to our knowledge, it's not Elon Musk.
So you never know.
To our knowledge.
At this point.
He's pretty powerful. He maybe sent up a Starlink interceptor.
Anything could be happening.
As the governor talks. So they're obviously going to try and get to the bottom of that as he schedules something. And that President Trump is probably chuckling in the Oval Office right now about us not being able to hear the governor.
Well, and I think there's something really interesting in terms of just the political dynamics of this, guys. Yeah. And that is that polling has come out again. The number one issue that Trump polls well on, immigration. And the challenge for, the Democrats, not just Newsom, but Democrats in Washington, Chuck Schumer, leader of the Senate Democrats, was trying to make sense out of this today and make a case. But the problem is the images that have come out of L.A., right, that have been violent, are really difficult to counteract in terms of peaceful protests, and the president has no authority to do this. Most legal scholars right now are saying the president probably can exercise this authority. So there's a long way till this is over, politically and legally.
Could we potentially see even President Trump coming out and speaking? That's what I'm thinking right now. Is he going to capitalize on this moment, on this audio blunder, and we see him speak before Newsom is able to? Of course, we're taking these live pictures right now, showing those protests continuing now for a fifth day. I kind of assume maybe the numbers would dwindle as we headed deeper into the week, but that certainly does not seem to be the case here. But the difference, Gary, and I want you to speak on this, if you've noticed it too, is the other law enforcement responses from local agencies like the Sheriff's Department, like the police. They are here in numbers, CHP, as we saw earlier, that we didn't see maybe this weekend when things took such a drastic
you're
turn.
Absolutely right, Hunter. LAPD said they arrested 100 people last night. Okay, so they are ramping up. And, is that in response to this, federal engagement? Maybe, or maybe they are planning on doing it themselves. But to your point, Hunter, I think we're going to see not just the federal response, but the local response down in the LA area is clearly ratcheting up, because there's calls now, you guys, as you know, this coming weekend for these protests to happen everywhere, including in Northern California, and they are happening in San Francisco as we speak.
Well, you have the Saturday celebration of the president's birthday combined with a military show of force in terms of celebrating the U.S. military. So,
yeah, the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army.
Right.
Which is why this is happening. Trump was there at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, celebrating that today. But it comes at an interesting time, Tony, maybe to your point, that there's going to be tanks rolling down Pennsylvania. So I think the escalation in terms of the optics of this, as we say in politics, is getting pretty crazy.
You're watching this on the stream right now on KMAX 31. Hey, Booth, is there any movement in terms of the governor actually being heard? Okay, now he is talking, so let's go to him, I'm being told to. So let's see if we can give this a go.
Process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. That's when the downward spiral began. He doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose. As the news spread throughout LA, anxiety for family and friends ramped up. Protests started again. By night, several dozen lawbreakers became violent and destructive. They vandalized property. They tried to assault police officers. Many of you have seen the video clips of cars burning on cable news. If you incite violence, I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account. That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated. Full stop. Already more than 220 people have been arrested, and we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Again, thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. But that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. He federalized another 2,000 Guard members. He deployed more than 700 active U.S. Marines. These are the men and women trained for foreign combat, not domestic law enforcement. We honor their service. We honor their bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces, not in LA, not in California, not anywhere. We're seeing unmarked cars in school parking lots, kids afraid of attending their own graduation. Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength. Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities. They're traumatizing our communities. And that seems to be the entire point. California will keep fighting. It will keep fighting on behalf of our people, all of our people, including in the courts. Just yesterday, we filed a legal challenge to Donald Trump's reckless deployment of American troops to a major American city. Today, we sought an emergency court order to stop the use of the American military to engage in law enforcement activities across Los Angeles. If some of us could be snatched off the streets without a warrant, based only on suspicion or skin color, then none of us are safe. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people who are least able to defend themselves, but they do not stop there. Trump and his loyalists, they thrive on division because it allows them to take more power and exert even more control. And by the way, Trump, he's not opposed to lawlessness and violence as long as it serves him. What more evidence do we need than January 6th? Ask everyone. Take time. Or Constitution. Perpetuating a unified assault on American traditions. This is a president who in just over 140 days has fired government watchdogs that could hold him accountable for corruption and fraud. He's declared a war on culture, on history, on science, on knowledge itself. Databases, quite literally, are vanishing. He's delegitimizing news organizations, and he's assaulting the First Amendment. And the threat of defunding them, at threat, he's dictating what universities themselves can teach. He's targeting law firms and the judicial branch that are the foundations of an orderly and civil society. He's calling for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason than to, in his own words, for getting elected. And we all know this Saturday, he's ordering our American heroes, the United States military, and forcing them to put on a vulgar display to celebrate his birthday, just as other failed dictators have done in the past. Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived. He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project. 3 co-equal branches of independent government. There are no longer any checks and balances. Congress is nowhere to be found. Speaker Johnson has completely abdicated that responsibility. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don. The founding fathers, they didn't live and die to see this kind of moment. It's time for all of us to stand up. Justice Brandeis, he said it best. In a democracy, the most important office, with all due respect, Mr. President, is not the presidency, and it's certainly not governor. The most important office is office of citizen. At this moment, we all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your First Amendment rights, please do it peacefully. I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear. But I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
So there you go, an abrupt ending to a powerful speech by Governor Newsom in which he basically attacked President Trump, calling him a failed dictator, like in terms of what he was talking about with Saturday's event and the military process that will happen, the procession. Wow, Gary. I mean, governors have disagreed with presidents in the past.
Yeah.
But this one takes it up to a whole new level.
This feud.
Yeah. You and I looked at each other as we were hearing some of the things and kind of a silent wow. I mean, I think, guys, to me, the interesting thing about this address to me is that it was clearly not limited simply to the situation in L.A.
Right.
Or even immigration. I mean, Newsom went down the list of every grievance that Democrats and others in the media have cited of Donald Trump, guys, and everyone. And some, as you know, on a very, very personal level. And I think that's the escalation of this that's concerning. Is you'd like to, kind of to you guys' point, keep this a gubernatorial presidential policy disagreement. But now it's clearly devolved into, you have to say, I mean, it's kind of you or me sort of battle, it looks like, politically here. And I honestly have concerns about the escalation of it and what that could mean going forward.
No, that's a good point.
He brought in Congress. I mean, he said Congress is nowhere to be found. He's brought up Speaker Johnson, of course, the comments that were made today that were also very inflammatory toward Governor Newsom. I mean, does Congress have a place in this back and forth right now? Is there something that they should, or should they be staying out of it to not stoke the flames even more?
You know, Hunter, that brings us back to that question, because Newsom was saying this isn't just about the immigration. He went down that whole list. Yeah. Many of the things that he talked about are congressional actions. I mean, the big, beautiful bill that's sitting in front of the senators right now, deals with a lot of the issues that Newsom referenced tonight. Medicaid cuts, a whole host of things, right? So yes, Congress has already been drawn into this, and it's been clear. I mean, you've got. Just before I came on set here, guys, you've got a Democratic member of Congress that's now got 3 indictments for her involvement in trying to be involved in the ICE efforts back in New York. So this has been escalated clearly across the governmental sector.
And in the meeting before he went to speak, somebody brought up the question, should you stay in this specific lane and talk about just this gripe and this incident?
Right.
Or should we broaden and start throwing punches at on other topics? And they went that latter route.
Right.
And critics can come back and say that's as inflammatory as what President Trump has been saying.
Well, here's what we'd like to see happen, I think, guys, right? What you'd like to see is, okay, let's turn down the rhetoric. Let's turn down the heat. What do we need to do to get things in L.A. under control, right, so that's safe for everyone on those streets, and the same in cities across America? Tony, I think that's what we'd like to see in the short term. All the rest of these disputes, of which there were almost dozens listed, those are not going to go away. And there's places and forums for those to happen, as you point out, Hunter, in Congress and in other locations.
When we talk about what we're going to see in the next coming days, obviously that curfew has been enacted. We heard Mayor Bass say it, 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. in the morning. What do we see from here, Gary? What are your predictions if you could have the crystal ball that you look into? Does this get better, or do we see it, like Newsom said, expand to other cities?
I will be surprised if we don't see the demonstrations. Now, whether they take a peaceful turn or a violent turn, we don't know. Unfortunately, part of the challenge, and this was referenced by both the president and by Newsom, it isn't the majority of the people. Even look at our visuals right here, guys. The majority of the people, excuse me, are peaceful protesters, but it only takes what? 5%, 10% for this thing to turn really ugly, and even for the people who are fellow protesters to be put in danger, let alone law enforcement, let alone people who apparently today in LA, some folks keeping their kids away from even school and graduations because they fear violence.
I'm glad you said let's look at the visuals, because right here, right now, no one's rioting. They're walking on the street. We get it. We know the images came out and they were strong and they were horrible, and a lot of people were freaked out by it, for lack of a better term. But we as a media can't keep playing those roles over and over, the same images, because right here, right now, as we sit here, there's skirmishes, there's things happening, but LA's not on fire. It's not a mass riot. So it's up to us to make sure that we are telling you exactly what's happening. And the governor, obviously, he has every right to come on and say what he said. But oh boy, what's going to happen after this? We'll have to see.
I think the larger picture is over the next few days, maybe weeks, I think we're going to see increased demonstrations. I mean, the ICE deportations are not going away.
Right.
Trump has asked for 3,000 a day. That's not nothing, as we say. And so I think you're going to see this. The hope, guys, of course, is that, as you're pointing out, Tony, we're going to see visions like we do right now. What appears to be, from our vantage point here in L.A., a peaceful protest. That certainly protected by the First Amendment. And let's take a step back and say, we saw these kind of protests over time, right?
I keep thinking about the Black Lives Matter protests and how...
Well, then let's go further back. Vietnam protests. There were hundreds of thousands of people in streets, right? What we don't want to see is anybody put in danger.
That's it. Right. And that's the priority right now.
Absolutely. Right. All right. So the governor has wrapped up his speaking, unprecedented, in terms of what we heard him say and how President Trump will respond. We'll have to wait and see.
We are going to see a response from the White House. I mean, the Twitter feed may be burning up as we speak, but the question is going to be, is there an address, Tony? Is there a forceful response? I mean, Trump so far through this whole exchange has not given, national remarks on this. He's given pressers and things like that. I think we're getting close probably sometime this week towards an Oval Office speech.
All right, Gary, thank you. We will stay on top of this, obviously, have the latest on primetime on KMAX 31. Many of you are watching on that, and the stream, of course, is all. And we'll be back at 10 and 11 to break all this down.
Thanks for sticking with us. And Gary, we appreciate your insights always.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.